All right, let's get it right to it. Rob Fredrickson joining us, the former Detroit Lion and, of course, Cardinal. And he joins us now here on the Right to It guest line here on ESPN 620. Rob, is it weird coming on a station that you actually work for, too? I mean, is it a little weird there, or you feel you're right at home? Like, you could, if we were in studio, you could just walk right in, right?
That's what I was hoping. I was hoping I could just walk down the aisle, or walk down the hallway, and come see you guys. But you know what? I'm glad that you've moved over to 620. I think it's great. We need some local content on that station.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thank you. All right, let's get right to it. Simple question, Rob. Best available or specific position, like position specific. So best available or position specific.
Well, you can't answer that question directly because it's nuanced, right? It's best available. Okay, so you're telling me if there's a tight end sitting there that's the best available, we're going to take them? No way, not a chance. We're not drafting a tight end. We're not drafting a quarterback in the first round. We're not drafting a punter or kicker. There's certain positions that I think the Cardinals are leaning towards. So there is a need maybe, and I think that they're going to want the best available within those position groups. And I'm mainly focused on the offensive line. Still the defensive line, even though they've done some great things in free agency to shore that up. I think there's still a possibility that the Cardinals may go edge or a defensive tackle. And a cornerback is a position, maybe even wide receiver. I don't know, but it's not going to be the best available regardless of position.
Rob, are you one of those guys that at number 16 is you're talking to Roc about, okay, best available here and there, that goes, well, our certain guy or that guy that they want or impactful players not there to trade down and garner more picks? Or are you one of those guys that says, hey, look, I'm going to go grab the most impactful player of what I need and pick him up and not worry about extra picks? Which way do you side?
I mean, I'm always going to be the advocate of get the best player in a kind of group of positions that you need,
right?
Versus trading down. But Monty Osborne loves to trade down. He loves to accumulate picks, and he loves to build his teams through the draft. And I think the last couple of years he's done a really good job of that. And this offseason in particular, he's really put in some pieces in free agency that I like. So I would be of the mindset to take a player at 16. This draft is really weird. It's like it's so heavy with defensive line and edge rushers that you could get at 16. You could get a top 10 talent, a guy that should be gone in the top 10. You could get somebody of that caliber back to you at 16. You could get somebody high up in the second round that should be in the top half of the first round. I just think this draft is kind of wonky in that respect. And so a lot of things, it'll be interesting to see how they play out.
Interesting, Brendan. We were just talking about earlier a story by Ryan Wilson of CBSSports.com, and everybody lines up their top 100 prospects, right? Well, he breaks it down, at least in his defensive tackles and edge rushers, to what you said, account for 37% of the names that he has in his top 100, and defensive backs are good for another 18%. So this is a very defensive-heavy, laden, if you will, draft. So there's a lot of talent that's out there. I guess what I hear you saying, what's the most impactful if that need is there for that particular position?
Yeah, so about 4 or 5 months ago, maybe 6 months ago, the Cardinals, towards the end of the season, they were struggling on the offensive line and the defensive line. Offensive line, they weren't able to really protect Kyler as well, weren't able to run the ball at times as efficiently as they had been doing. Defensive line, they just weren't getting pressure on the quarterback, weren't able to stop the run. And I made the proclamation back then that, look, when it comes to the draft, if your hand is not in the grass I'm not drafting you. All our draft picks are going to hand-in-the-grass guys, okay? And I've come off of that a little bit, but my theory still stands that that's really – and you need to look no further than the Super Bowl and look what the Eagles did to the Chiefs by only rushing 4 guys. The best quarterback in the universe couldn't do anything because he had less than 2 seconds to make a decision and get rid of the ball. That is the blueprint right there, I think, for the Arizona Cardinals. And I think it's part of Jonathan Gannon's DNA. That's what he wants to do. He wants to be tough and physical up front. And you look at 16th pick, and you talk about all the defensive line and edge rushers, how heavy it is, and defensive backs. There's a chance that there could be a gem of an offensive lineman sitting there at 16.
And then I think you have to scratch that itch of a home run receiver somewhere in there, whether it's a 2nd round or 3rd round, to help take the top off eventually. And I totally agree with you. I'm an ex-quarterback that says, man, defense wins championships. Let's follow what the Eagles did. But we got to have somebody that can clear the bases at any time with one stroke. I would think there's got to be a home run hitter at least in the next 2 rounds after that.
Yeah, and I think that's the one piece the Cardinals may be missing is that speed guy that can take the top off and force the safeties to sit back there and not creep up.
2 minutes.
That's a glaring need, I think, in some respects. But for me, at 16, again, if I had a choice of just a prime offensive guard, somebody like a Tyler Booker or something like that sitting there, because I look at our offensive line and right now you have Isaiah Adams penciled in a guard. I think he's going to be good at some point. He struggled last year in his rookie season when he was put in there. I don't know that he's quite ready yet. You hope to have a sophomore surge, and he plays better this year, but I don't know that he's ready yet. And so I think if you're looking just at the offense, I think that guard position is probably the one that I would identify as the most important or strongest need.
He's Rob Fredrickson, 1st-round pick, 22nd pick overall in 1994 by the L.A. Oakland Raiders. All right, take us back to that day, Rob. Where were you? How did the process go? I know we got draft week next week, and next week we're going to bring on a lot of guys to kind of take us back because it's so interesting to hear everybody's story. They're all different.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I was
1 minute.
So I drove home for the draft. I was going to watch it at home. And I pull into the driveway, and there's this massive satellite dish in our driveway. And my mom and dad come out to greet me, and I say, "Dad, what's this?" And he's like, "Well, only the 1st round is on ESPN, and so we got this satellite dish for all the other rounds." And I'm like, "Oh, gee, thanks, Dad. Thanks for the vote of confidence."
That's awesome.
So you're telling me I'm not going in the 1st round? Okay, I get it. But no, it was just me and my family sitting there, and actually there was a scout from the Dallas Cowboys that was sitting there watching the draft with us, and he was every time some team would call, he would report back to the Cowboys headquarters and say kind of the nature of the conversation. So my agent was messing with him a little bit here and there, but it was funny after I got drafted and we were all hooting and hollering and having a good time. He kind of settled down. My mom had a big spread of sandwiches and everything out there, and he says, "Y'all mind if I finish my sandwich before I leave?" And I don't know. It's just kind of funny.
Were the Raiders, were they one of the teams that was heavily scouting you?
It was weird. I really had no conversations with the Raiders.
Wow.
I had nothing
Break.
with them. Didn't really know beyond Art Shell. I didn't know anyone on their coaching staff. Hadn't had any conversations with any of them. I think they were at my pro day, but never really talked to them. So I really did think I was going to the Cowboys, who had the next pick, but went to the silver and black and And the rest is history.
Good stuff. Well, Rob, thanks for going back memory lane for us. Appreciate you, and we'll look forward to seeing you around the studio. You're more welcome to come in, bring us some breakfast or lunch or coffee or anything.
Absolutely.
So we're always looking forward to that.
It's always on you, big fella.
Yeah.
We'll take it.
Well, I'm excited for you guys, and I look forward to seeing you in studio.
You guys, Rob Fredrickson, former first-round pick of the Raiders, of course, does a bunch of Cardinal talk as well, and does a game day analyst, and of course, part of ESPN and Arizona Sports. So good stuff there. You can follow him on Twitter at rfredrickson59. All right, coming up, he's brought to you by Right Toyota, by the way. Right place, right selection, Right Toyota in Scottsdale on Frank Lloyd Wright Boulevard. They have the right deal for everyone. Check out their inventory of pre-owned certifieds that are under $15,000. Go to righttoyota.com. So coming up, more Roc Manuch. We'll tell you what's going on this weekend.